Chelsea News Roundup. Caicedo shuts down Real Madrid as Pavlovich could be our next big signing. Let me ask you something. How good does it feel to wake up to Chelsea news that actually makes you smile? Because right now, in March 2026, there are two big stories going around in the Chelsea world. One is about a player who is already at the club, choosing us over one of the biggest clubs on the planet. The other is about a new face who could walk through the door this summer and make our defense look completely different. If you are part of this community, you already know how much we love digging deep into Chelsea transfer news and breaking down what it all means for the club. So let us get into it properly today. Caicedo, Said what? Let us start with the story that made a lot of Chelsea fans sit up straight. Real Madrid were reportedly looking at midfielders, and as we all know, when Real Madrid come calling, things can get complicated very fast. Ask any fan of any club. When that name appears next to one of your players, you start to feel a little nervous. But Moises Caicedo did not give anyone a reason to feel nervous. Instead, the Ecuadorian midfielder went on record with the Spanish TV show El Chiringuito and said something that was clear, direct, and honestly very refreshing. He said, "I want to become a Chelsea legend." He also made it clear that he is under contract at Chelsea and that his full focus is on the club and on playing for Ecuador internationally. Now let that sink in for a second. This is not a player who gave a vague answer or said something like, "I am happy here for now." He did not dodge the question or talk around it. He looked at the Real Madrid question and basically said, "No thank you, I have bigger goals where I am." That is a big deal, and here is why. When Chelsea spent the kind of money they did to bring Caicedo to the club, a lot of people questioned whether it was worth it. The fee was enormous. The pressure on him was enormous. And in football, sometimes players who come in under that pressure eventually look for a way out when a big club comes around. Caicedo is doing the opposite. He is planting his flag at Chelsea and saying this is where he wants to build his legacy. Think about what it means to become a Chelsea legend. You are talking about a list that includes players like Didier Drogba, Frank Lampard, John Terry, and Petr Cech. These are names that will never be forgotten at Stamford Bridge. For Caicedo to even say that is the kind of legend he wants to be, he is showing a level of ambition and commitment that should excite every single Chelsea fan. But here's the question I want to ask you. Do you think Caicedo already has the quality to one day sit in that conversation of Chelsea legends, or does he still need a few more big seasons to get there? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is exactly the kind of debate this community is built for. Why Real Madrid coming in actually makes this better. Let us not skip past the fact that Real Madrid were the ones who were looking for a midfielder and Caicedo was reportedly on their radar, because that detail actually matters a lot. Real Madrid are not just any club. They are arguably the biggest club in the world when it comes to history, trophies, and pulling power. If you told most footballers in the world that Real Madrid were interested in signing them, the majority would at least want to have a conversation. So when Caicedo shuts that down without hesitation, it sends a message not just to Chelsea fans, but to every club that might think about testing the waters. He is not someone who is going to be unsettled by rumors. He is not going to go quiet on social media and let speculation run wild. He spoke, he was clear, and now everyone knows where he stands. This also helps Chelsea from a stability point of view. One of the things that has sometimes frustrated fans over the years is uncertainty around key players. Transfers and rumors can sometimes split fan opinions and create unnecessary drama. When a player like Caicedo comes out and says what he said, it removes all of that noise. The midfield is not a problem. Move on. And with that, let us move on to the second big story, Strahinja Pavlovich and what it could mean for our defense. If the Caicedo story gave Chelsea fans good feelings, the Pavlovich story is giving them something to think about and get excited about for the summer. According to reports from the Italian outlet Calciomercato, Chelsea are preparing to submit a bid of around 40 million euros for Strahinja Pavlovich, the centre-back currently playing for AC Milan. Now, if you're not completely familiar with Pavlovich yet, that is fine. Let us talk about who he is and why Chelsea are apparently ready to spend that kind of money on him. Pavlovich is a Serbian defender. He is tall, strong, very physical, and he is exactly the kind of centre-back that teams fear going up against in set pieces and aerial duels. He plays with aggression, but also with a level of composure on the ball that you do not always see in very physical defenders. One Chelsea fan in a post that was shared online said something that really summed him up well. They said he reminds them of Gabriel from Arsenal, but is actually better on the ball, and they called him a proper powerhouse center back. Now that is a comparison that will mean something to people who watch the Premier League closely. Gabriel is a brilliant defender who has been a big part of Arsenal's improvement over the past few years. He is strong, he reads the game well, and he gives his backline real presence. If Pavlovich is in that category but brings even more quality on the ball, then Chelsea would be getting someone very special. And here is the context that makes this signing make perfect sense right now. Why Chelsea need this. The same fan who praised Pavlovich also made a point that a lot of people in this community have been talking about. Levi Colwill needs proper competition at left center back. Colwill has shown real promise. He is young, he is technically gifted, and he has all the tools to be a top center back for Chelsea and England for years to come. But having good competition pushes players to reach their ceiling. No player gets better by being comfortable. If Colwill knows that Pavlovich is right there, training every day, ready to step in, that can only make both players better. The other point that was raised is something that every football fan understands deeply, but sometimes tries not to think about. You never fully know how a player will come back from a serious injury. ACL injuries are some of the most difficult injuries in football. The recovery process is long, it is hard, and even when a player comes back physically, the mental side of it can take time. Chelsea have had players dealing with injury issues, and the fan made a very fair point. You cannot just sign a backup who fills a seat. You need quality in reserve because you genuinely never know what the season will throw at you. Pavlovich at 40 million euros would not be a backup. He would be a genuine starter-level center-back who raises the quality across the whole defense. So here's my question for you. Do you think 40 million euros is good value for a center-back of his profile? Is that the right price? Or do you think AC Milan might hold out for more? Tell us what you think. What would a Pavlovich signing actually look like? Let us paint the picture for a second, because I think this is where it gets really interesting. If Chelsea bring in Pavlovich this summer, you suddenly have a back four that could look completely different from what we have seen in recent seasons. You have a big, aggressive, ball-playing center-back on one side and Colwill continuing to develop on the other. Behind them, you have a goalkeeper who can command his area. And in front of them, you have Caicedo sitting deep and protecting. That is a backline that has real structure, real competition for places, and real quality. The Premier League rewards teams that are solid at the back. You can have all the attacking talent in the world, but if you are giving away goals because your defense is not properly organized or not physically dominant enough, you will always fall short. Chelsea have been working on building a team that can compete over a full season. Signing a player like Pavlovich would be another piece of that puzzle. It would show that the club is not just thinking about the exciting stuff in attack, they are also making sure the foundation is strong. And in big matches, in the Champions League nights, in the top 6 clashes where margins are tiny, that kind of defensive strength becomes the difference. What these two stories tell us about Chelsea right now. If you step back and look at both of these stories together, they actually paint quite an encouraging picture of where Chelsea are headed. On one hand, you have your key players choosing to stay and chase greatness with the club. Caicedo is not thinking about the exit door. He is thinking about his legacy. That is a player with the right mindset and the right hunger. On the other hand, you have the club being active in the market, identifying the right profiles for positions that need strengthening and being willing to spend properly to get them. A 40 million euro bid for a top center-back shows ambition. It shows planning. It shows that the people running the club are not just reacting to problems. They are trying to solve them before they become problems. That combination of a committed squad and smart transfer activity is what builds a team that can compete over multiple seasons. It is not built overnight, but the signs are there. One last question before we wrap up. I want to ask you something, and I genuinely want to hear your answer in the comments. If Chelsea managed to keep Caicedo for the next 5 to 7 years and he delivers at the highest level throughout that time, where do you think he ranks in the history of Chelsea midfielders? Because that is the conversation we could be having in a few years if everything goes the way it seems to be pointing right now. Lampard is the gold standard. We all know that. But behind him, there is room for players to carve out their own place in the story of this club, and Caicedo has already shown the mentality that legends are made of. The Chelsea story is still being written. Every week there is something new to talk about in the Chelsea world. Some weeks it is frustrating, some weeks it is confusing, but weeks like this one, where your star midfielder tells the world he wants to be a legend, and where the club is pushing hard to bring in real quality, these are the weeks that remind you why you love this club. The Pavlovich link is still a rumor at this stage. Nothing is confirmed. Football moves fast and things can change, but the intent is clear. Chelsea want to build a stronger, more complete team, and they are going about it the right way. In Caicedo, he already feels like he belongs here. The question is just how high he can take things. Stay close to this community for more analysis as these stories develop. If you have thoughts on either story, the Pavlovich bid, the Caicedo comments, or anything else connected to Chelsea right now, drop them below. This is your space to talk about it. Up the Blues.